So, seen any good moves lately? Welcome back to the finale recap of Survivor 49, a season of Survivor. I'm your host, Joey Overding, and today I am thrilled to be joined by the courageous, the joyous CJ. How are you doing, CJ?
I'm doing great, Joey. What's up? What's up?
Nothing much. We are here to talk about Survivor 49, a season of Survivor that definitely happened, and it's over now. So, I mean, it was a season that I've been talking about the whole time, and I was waiting for something to happen. I don't know if we ever really got there, but I do want to ask you, CJ. You're a big time Survivor fan. What did you think of this season?
Um, geez, probably at the end of the day, it just kind of feels like it just left you feel a little want want. Um, I think that that's kind of the overall feel of the season. Like every time you thought something like really cool or really entertaining was gonna happen, we felt like we were getting teased the entire time with like, oh, are they big movie? And then oh no, Sophie knowledge is power. Like gonna take Rizzo's idol? No, I'm gonna go after the block of vote, even though I don't know what he has or what it could potentially mean. Even though I know there's an idol, right? There's all the critiques that you can say, but at the end of the day, look, it's another season of Survivor. It's another crop of players. I think it's a very interesting cast. I don't really knock any of the players per se in terms of like their characters. You can definitely critique some gameplay decisions, gameplay moves. Um, Probably got the snowball rolling at with the merge vote voting out Native as opposed to Savannah. Um, and that's kind of where the dominoes kind of fall for there. But you know what? Good on Savannah.
Yeah.
She did what she needed to do. She won when she needed to win every time when it was her neck on the line. She did what she had to do, and then she had a good ally in Rizzo that when she was vulnerable, like, hey, let's look over here. Let's look at Alex. Let's look at Sophie. Like, let's just doing anything that he could to keep moving her further along in the game,
Yeah.
despite the fact that he was essentially lock safe because everyone was afraid to go after him. Um, and I think that's just kind of unfortunate. There was a lot of, I think, scared gameplay, but I think really a lot of dynamic characters. And I think that if you mix up this cast, maybe half, like let's say if you mix this cast with the 48 cast, like you half, on the 48 and half on 49, you just kind of swapped them. Maybe people feel a little bit differently about some of those seasons. I think some spoiler stuff with 50, I know, played into a role into how a lot of people are viewing the season, but overall, I would probably say below average season. Definitely probably near the bottom of the new era for sure for me. Um, do I think that it ranks near the bottom of Survivor seasons of all time? It might hit bottom 10. Personally, just in terms of like entertainment factor, and then really like trying to enjoy the gameplay. Because if the gameplay is going to be messy, you really want there to be a lot of entertaining characters, a lot of entertaining inter-tribe dynamics, even if the gameplay is bad. In this season, I don't know if we got that. I think we got a lot of really teases and hints at really good gameplay and
Yeah.
teases and hints of really good excitement. But I think at the end of the day, we kind of got what we expected.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what it was.
But I mean, it is what we expected. Whether or not it was because of 50 stuff, who's to say? I think it was kind of obvious Savannah was going to win, regardless of whether you knew things or didn't. But props to Savannah; she deserved her win. And I think that she played better than basically everybody else on her season. I think it was either her or Rizzo, and she won fire making, so she deserved it. And I think that's the truth at the end of the day. That being said, I kind of agree with all your critiques. And I think that it was kind of a rough season. Unfortunately, I think in the early going it was a little like, okay, this is the pre-merge, this is kind of standard, new era affair, and then it was exciting. It was like, whoa, we have not one but two swaps. That's crazy. And I think the hopeful Survivor fan in us all thought that, okay, change will be good because it's change, but I think for whatever reason, it just I don't know if it was because of the swaps or just coincidentally, but I mean, I feel like things really got pretty stagnant, which is surprising because if you look at the season narrative, it seems like it's interesting, but it just really wasn't to watch. So,
Yeah, I think if you take a look at this season, I think there are a lot of parallels that you can make to Survivor Samoa. I think is
mm,
probably the way that I could look at it, where you had the Fofo 4, they come into the merge way down in numbers, and then they find different ways, scratch, claw their way to get the majority. But I think the difference is that you had Russell, who is a dynamic character playing idols, and then you had just different characters here and there to make the season still seem interesting, different reasons for players for making decisions that actually on the surface on some level at certain points made some sense.
yeah,
um you know it made sense for some of the women to want to vote Eric out because he was untrustworthy and he was necessarily reliable, uh you know potentially setting himself up, for something down the road. So it's definitely not it's not the greatest situation that you want to be in when you have a season where you feel like it's just kind of plodding along and nothing really interesting is happening, which Samoa kind of was to some extent, but it just had more dynamic characters, and I think that's kind of what the
yeah.
season was lacking.
I saw somebody else online say something similar about how this reminded them of Samoa, and I get it. I do get it. It is, going into the merge, seemingly in a rough spot. You have all the numbers against you. It has the makings for its own version of a pagonging. But I think there's a big difference beyond even just the Russell Hands or the interesting character of it all, which is this is the difference of Survivor Samoa being two tribes that never swapped between Foa and Galoo, and the natural tension and the our side versus their side of it all that happens, versus once again this season where there were two swaps, and sure, a bunch of people never interacted each other, and the what we were being told was it was Hina versus Uli with a sprinkle of blue in there, but
Hmm. Kella, I
in
think it's Kella.
Kella,
Kella.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But in reality, I feel as if like it's just way more fluid by default because swaps allow for fluidity. Um,
Yeah, and I think that we had some tease to that because while the Nate vote was probably not the greatest game move, you had people from all three tribes that were a part of that majority vote to vote
yeah,
Nate out right at the swap. Now, was it the best target? Did you take out the best target? Like, obviously, no. You could have taken out Savannah, who eventually went out to win the game. But that's the kind of fluidity that really makes you feel like, okay, this is going to be interesting. We have all these different tribe dynamics. You got Sage and Jawan, Alex, and whatever Alex is going to do, he's in this group, and whether or not this Hina group is going to stay together, even though we noticed that there was some tension during in previous other situations in camp life during the swap. But I think at the end of the day, uh, there were just too many moves made that were not beneficial, that were people were thinking individually, like, who do I need to get out today that helps me and me alone? And I think that's kind of the dynamic that kind of hurt some people's gameplay, and then eventually didn't set them up in position to be a part of something bigger in the long run and put them next to people that they could have beaten. I think someone like Sage, who I love Sage. I love that she was on the season. I think she was authentically herself, but I think she was thinking at each. I believe she was thinking each vote individually. Like, this vote
yeah,
today, what helps me today to survive tonight, as opposed to like what's going to maybe get her down the road later, to the point where by the time that was the decision that she made, where she voted out Steven, it was kind of too little, too late. She had kind of already made her bed with everything that had happened prior to that. So um, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting season to watch. Do on a rewatch. I think.
yeah.
I think maybe I'll have a little bit more appreciation for it. Watching it back without the the hovering of 50 over top of it. But hey, it was, like you said, it was a season of Survivor that happened, and we'll see where it ends up falling in the lexicon.
Yeah, I think you made a good point when you were talking about just the general idea of like a lot of people, whether it be Sage or whoever else, are very much thinking in the short term. And I think that's something that this finale episode you saw Savannah do really well is she was able to, from what we were told, spearhead this vote against Christina, who's theoretically basically as big of a goat as there can be, into getting her voted out, which I think is a very impressive thing to do, even though it's the final five and your alliance is basically immune. I think that's not easy to do, to spearhead a vote against somebody that it doesn't make sense for basically anybody to get rid of and say, this is our only option and making it a unanimous vote. I think that's impressive. And Rizzo said to the camera that he did not want to do that, that he would have rather gotten that Sage.
Yeah, and
So
I don't understand why Rizzo ended up making that decision. I'm sure he's probably talking about it in interviews. I think at the end of the day, the only like downside, and maybe I can see if Rizzo thought this more so, is that if you bring Christina to 4, she almost is guaranteed to go to 3.
yes,
So you
yeah,
have someone who is guaranteed going to take up one of those spots, and which is kind of why I really am really wondering about Sophie making this decision, because she ended up putting Rizzo and Savannah in fire. If that's what you were going to do to begin with, then you might as well have voted Sage out, because you were going to try and put one of them in fire anyway. So, um, and I think that's kind of, I think that, I don't know, it just seemed like every move was like in the moment. This is the vote I'm making for today, right now. And I think
yeah,
that, and I think probably from Rizzo's perspective, maybe Sophie's the one who ended up saying like, I just want to keep Sage, and maybe that, Rizzo's like, okay, I don't have the numbers to make this happen anyway, so he just ended up voting, which is possible, but
yeah.
I don't know, just
More
not
than
another typical of the season, not a great game move.
yeah, more than any other season I can really remember, even including last season, which was pretty similar in this regard. I feel like the gameplay is way more like reactionary than it has been before. Like I think Sophie's a great example, right? Where she has this knowledge is power. She's holding on to it the entire season and she's waiting for her opportunity. And then when it gets to the point where, okay, now's my time to play it, she reacts based on basically what the most recent advantage she's heard of is. I don't know if that's actually true, but it feels that way. Or,
Mm,
the most recent threat to her game, what it could be. Even though Steven's block of vote really didn't mean anything, it wouldn't have meant anything, even if it was played correctly and blah, blah, blah. It probably wouldn't have hurt Sophie's game specifically. Um, Based on how the votes were going. But I think it was scared and it was a lot of reactionary gameplay. Sophie maybe being the biggest example of that. To the point where she was like sheepish when she was putting Savannah and Rizzo in the fire, when that's what you have to do. You either have to do that or if you have to
mhm,
go against one of them yourself. So
mhm.
it's
I mean, I honestly think even if Sophie takes Rizzo's idol and plays it on herself, even if the votes aren't against her, Rizzo no longer has an idol. Rizzo and Savannah are sitting ducks. Sophie's sitting at the end with Sage and Christina.
yeah.
I think that's just how the cookie crumbles. Like I'm just uh Savannah wins 5, they vote out Rizzo, and then if Sophie wins at 4, they vote out. Then Savannah goes into fire with Christina. Christina probably wins, and Savannah's
Mhm.
gone. So, and then it's Sophie's game at that point. So it's, I don't know. It's, shoulda, woulda. We're Monday morning quarterbacking. Obviously, we're seeing things from a different point of view. But Sophie had the knowledge as power advantage. She had more knowledge than even we did.
Yes.
So, um, yeah, so it's again, uh interesting season, to say the least. Definitely going to be one to look back on. Probably not a season that's going to see too many returning players, I don't think.
Who's to say?
I mean, yeah, you never know. But I think, but at the end of the day, I feel like by the end, towards the end, I would say probably like final 8. I was like, okay, these are the people that we're focusing on. These are the people that we're supposed to care about the most, and these are the people that I do care about the most. And I think that's kind of what the show really intended. That at the end of the day, we're gonna make you care about like 8 people. Um, on this, we're gonna make you care about half the cast, and the other half are just kind of here. And
Yeah,
that's just kind of how the new era editing seems to work post 46.
42, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
46. Yeah,
yeah.
it feels like a bit of a gradual decline in
Hmm.
terms of trying to show off everybody equally, and like I don't mind that for the record. I don't
Hmm.
mind if a season's kind of lopsided. We were just talking about Samoa. I think Samoa is a very good season, though a lot of people, myself included, will tell you, hey, some of the fun characters didn't get enough editing, and Russell sure got a lot of editing. But I think sometimes a season narrative it kind of should be lopsided. Like I think,
Imagine,
yeah,
imagine how much better Samoa is if like Russell has 30 less confessionals and they're spread out amongst everybody else. And it's already a good season, but just
yeah,
imagine if like they just do that and just spread it amongst some of the other players. Like it's totally like fine, but I love Samoa, so it's a great season. I agree with you 100%.
yeah. So that's to say that like I don't. Am I torn up deep inside that I didn't get all the Sophie S content that I was dreaming of? At the end of the day, not necessarily. She seemed like a relatively interesting player, but it's like I won't cry about it tomorrow.
Mm.
Um, that being said, I mean, like we had the major characters, but at the same time, I don't know if I'm crazy. I don't know if I'm just like being negative for the sake of it, but I really didn't feel like we had our standout character that the other New Era seasons had produced. Whether you like 43 or not, at least you could say, hey, Jesse, Cody, these are standout characters. You can hate on 41, but hey, Xander, Shan, Ricard, interesting characters. Here it's like Savannah is an interesting character. Riza is probably the most interesting character, but other than that, it's like it really felt like those two for the entire season. And we
Yeah.
had we
Um,
had interesting pre-merge players like Shannon and Jake and whoever else, but they gradually got taken out by votes or by snakes. So I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I would probably say that each season will have about like somewhere between like 5 to 6 potential like you could say stars, like Survivor, like stars, people who would be like come back to a fans versus favorite season or like be on a second chance and like or like something like that. I think a bad season is a season where you probably have like one, maybe two, right? I'm thinking
Yeah,
looking at you, Thailand.
I was about to say
Um,
Thailand's a perfect
yeah.
example. Yeah,
Um, so there's that, and then there are some other seasons that you look at the amount of returning players that have come back. Like, look at how many people have come back from One World. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of shocking. Um, but I think when you look at it, it's honestly it's all Uli, right? It's Savannah, it's Rizzo, it's Sage, it's Jawan. Like, I think those are the 4 people that gravitated the most, whether you're looking on social media, whether you're just kind of gauging interest in terms of who people are rooting for, rooting against. Those 4 were the ones who were generating the most conversation. I genuinely liked Sophie B. I liked Steven. I thought those 2 were also really good characters, and but at the end of the day, there were probably secondary characters, as opposed to the main characters, which kind of turned out to be Rizzo Savannah,
yeah.
then Sage Jawan, then Sophie B and Steven, and then everybody else underneath them. So you're really Survivors telling the story. They're telling the story of Savannah's win. Rizzo was their closest ally. They get the most content. Their main opposition was Jawan and Sage. They get the second most content. Sophie B was their next closest ally. It just kind of falls in
Makes
line and just
sense.
kind
Yeah.
of that's just kind of how the season turned out. And I think the biggest problem that some people have is that it's kind of was predictable that's kind of how it was going to go down. And you wish, you hope like for some kind of shakeup. And if you're not going to get the shakeup, you hope that there's some interesting dynamics in between there that allow you to want to keep watching, whether it's their personalities or whether it's the banter going back and forth at camp. I think for whatever reason in the new era, and I think this is maybe the biggest fault of casting, is that there aren't enough people who are willing to just stir the pot for the
Yeah.
sake of stirring the pot. Um, I was telling this to a bunch of a bunch of other people that we communicate with online. I would much rather just take the Big Brother cast, take the cast of Big Brother, and just plop them on Survivor,
Hmm.
and then just say, "Have at it." Like I think that will be dynamic television that will allow some, messy gameplay most likely, but at the very least it can be entertaining. I think that there should be more recruits on Survivor, less super fans, and more and a much more diverse field of characters to be on the show, as opposed to it being, 14 super fans and like two people who just started watching the show 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I go back to just a few months ago. We had you on to talk about Big Brother, and
Mm.
I think we kind of echoed similar sentiments then, before the season had even started. Of like, if nothing else, the Big Brother cast is much more interesting than what they're turning out on Survivor. And it's like I remember something I said a lot during my Big Brother cast is like I would love to see Keanu on the challenge, which by the way he might be on the new season, which is pretty exciting,
Yeah.
or Morgan, who also might be on the new season. Like that's fun. Like I can see that working. I look at the Survivor cast and I'm like, yeah, Savannah would probably be pretty good on the challenge. But then there's also 17 other people. I'm like, they're not really interesting enough, or I don't think they have that chaos factor.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like even if you pick Savannah, like match up Savannah with, like, I don't know, the entire cast of 47. Like how many people from 47 would you get to before you ended up getting to Savannah? And I think that's kind of where this, this the weakness of this cast kind of lies. I think it's a good crop of players, but when you compare it to the 45 cast, the 46 cast, the 44 cast,
Mhm.
the 47 cast, it just doesn't measure up. Um, at the end of
Yeah.
the day, I kind of like the 48 cast even probably a little bit more. If I'm being honest, and I think 49 just kind of struggled with, you know, it just kind of stayed one note like the entire time, like no real twists and turns. Shannon was interesting. And that whole dynamic and that whole thing, I thought that was probably the best content that we really got. Like,
Mhm.
just personality wise, like during the over the course of the show, everything else just kind of felt forced and like just not really didn't really have anything to do with the dynamic or the story that was being told, other than Rizzo. Maybe Rizzo was probably the most personable player. Like, yeah, I thought people were being genuine, like in terms of like Sage and Juwan. I think they were being themselves. But
Sure.
in terms of like allowing these dynamics and these connections to establish gameplay, like, was anyone else shocked, like, when they found out exactly how close Sage and Juwan were? Like, I
Kinda,
knew that
yeah.
they were working together, but I didn't know they were like to the point where like Jawan gets voted out, Sage is crying, and then they go to tribal council. Jawan, like, every like looking at Sage every single moment. I didn't realize that they were that close. Like, show us that. Like, this is the number
Yeah.
one opposition to the people that you're propping up. Make it seem like there's a viable shot that they would have, done something. And Survivor never did that. And I think they edited the season thinking as if we would not know, who would end up being on
Which
15.
I mean, you have to assume that when you're editing it,
Yeah.
right? You can't assume that everybody already knows that Rizzo and Span are going to be on. But at the same time, it felt like it was edited like we already knew Rizzo and Savannah were going to be on because they were the only characters that, to me, and I'm trying to watch this as objectively as possible. I'm trying to watch this with an analytical mind. And even with that, I'm like, I feel like it's only Rizzo or Savannah and maybe Sophie. Maybe Soph. Like maybe.
Well, yeah, but like if you just think about it, like how often in the early merge, Kella's going to tribal council every episode. Often did we just go to Uli just to hear about Savannah complaining about Jawan? You
All the
know,
time. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what we heard about. We never got the Sage and Jawan connection while they were on the tribe together. We never found out about the dynamics between Sophie and Christina and how they were butting heads over on Hina. Like it just everything just was all about Savannah or Rizzo or what do they have to say? What's their reaction like? How many times did something happen to another tribe and they Jeff Savannah, what do you think about, whatever, like just shoving it down our throats? Like, oh my God, like it's it's just it doesn't help make Savannah and Rizzo come off as people you want to root for. And
Yeah.
I think that is something that they'll struggle with. Now, I think they have an excellent opportunity. I'm sure they're great people. Like I'm not like
Sure.
coming at them
Sure. Yeah.
personally, but like now that they're all going to be on 50, like different dynamics, different people. They're not on the same tribe. Sorry for spoilers if that's happening. But there's a chance for them to change up their gameplay with a lot of 50 players, which I'm super excited about to
Yeah.
see who can change up their gameplay and then maybe ingratiate themselves differently to the audience and kind of go from that a sour taste in my mouth from this. Oh, okay, I saw you on this season. Now I feel a little bit better about you. And maybe it can go in that direction, kind of like Sarah Lucina, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't necessarily love Sarah in Kagiyan. See her on Game Changers, felt a little bit better about her. So
Yeah.
I
You
think
get it. Yeah.
everyone has an opportunity to change the narrative.
Hmm. Yeah, the narrative is interesting because I think that is I've spoken about it in the past episode or two, but I think it's worth bringing up after the finale, and we know how the entire season is. Is it definitely felt a little more like it felt a little less like they were underdogs. Part of that was obviously the advantages and things like that. But it wasn't like a Russell situation. It wasn't like a Samoa situation. I felt like it was much more like akin to it felt on even playing field, if not like completely Rizzo Savannah sided versus anything else. So
Doesn't it?
I don't
It,
know.
it kind of does play a little like Thailand almost,
Yeah,
in a
kind
way.
of.
If you really think of just kind of how the merge went, where you felt like it was supposed to be on even playing field, but you never really felt like it was
Yeah.
because of the dynamics that we received from the Sukjai tribe, and like we never believed anyone on that tribe was going to win.
No.
So it just kind of like felt that way. I think Savannah and Rizzo were technically on the bottom for a day. Like
Yeah.
Nate got voted out, they were on the bottom, and I think that was it. Like I literally think that was the only day that they were on the bottom, like officially.
Yeah.
So
Um, and I mean,
it
a
does,
big part of that is Savannah continuing to win immunity challenges and them not wanting to go after Rizzo. But a lot of that is just on the other players in the game for not going after Rizzo, for not even making him burn his idol. I mean, it says something. It's a
they
different sort of game
there
plan.
were there were 3 times where making Rizzo burn his idol made the most sense,
Yeah.
and sorry, 4 times. Um, there's the fourth time made some sense for some people, but like merge, they don't do it. Split tribe, they don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't know why they don't do it.
That's
They
the
just
time to do
decide
it.
not to do it.
Yeah.
Like nope, just we're not doing it. Alex vote, they don't do it, and then the Juwan vote, which you know, it's
Yeah.
I yeah, just it speaks for itself. It's just time after time, people making gameplay decisions that don't necessarily benefit them in the long run, and I really just don't think Savannah and Rizzo really had to work that hard to
No.
to do it to do anything.
It sucks because once again, Savannah deserving winner. I think her or Rizzo, take your pick, was the best player in the season. I
Mhm.
truly believe that. However, sometimes it felt like we were playing with plumbers out there. Like it didn't feel like anybody was really trying to stop Savannah. Even Sage, who the entire season is saying to the camera, I want to take Savannah down. I can be a mean girl too. I'm against her. She gets the opportunity during the Steven vote, or I think the Steven vote, or sometime around then, to finally take her out. She's vulnerable. Rizzo's probably not going to play an idol on her at this point. And instead, it goes for the unanimous vote. And there were like, what, 7, 8 unanimous votes in this season? There were a lot of them. So, I
I
mean,
think I think you're thinking the Sophie vote. I think the Sophie
Sophie,
vote was the
yes,
one that you're
yes, that's
thinking of. Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, that's another one. And that's not even a try and flush Rizzo idol. That's just take out the person you think is the number one target in the game, and go for it. Which I think another thing is like with Survivor editing, like all of a sudden Sophie is the number one threat to win the game. Why? I don't know. From what I understand, like people aren't really trying to work with her, and um, it just like she's alienated from Hina, and like it
yeah,
didn't seem like that's someone who I'm like, they're gonna sweep the jury if they make it to the end. Like I just never got that vibe, and that's the kind of the story that they tried to sell us. And it's just like, I mean, you can nitpick, between production and editing and like, the gameplay moves and like all you want. At the end of the day, I think Savannah did everything that she needed to do, to try and get herself to the end of the game to with a position to win, and I think she did that. I think there's a world where Rizzo wins, even against Savannah, um, because of some of the things that Savannah lacked in terms of a social game, which you know Rizzo had lacking in the physical aspect of it. But I don't think people value that as much as they do the social bonds in your strategic game, which I think Rizzo had. Savannah was also pretty strategic. I think she got right in there with Sophie like immediately when they got together at the first swap, and reeled her in, making connections with the right people, and just kind of locking that in, and to the
yeah,
point where people were afraid to go after Savannah because of how close she was with Rizzo. Like she
that's true.
almost was like had idol protection by like it was almost like rub like idol rub off of her, where people they voted out Nate and Nate became vulnerable just because of a connection that she had to someone that had an advantage. I think a lot of these players, if they when they're looking back on it while we're watching the season, they're just like, oh, I'm like kicking themselves, like, why did I do this? Why didn't I do that? Sophie B, I'm
Yeah,
for probably number one on
obviously.
that list.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, uh, you know, you're tired, you're hungry, you're not thinking straight, it's anxiety inducing, you're getting bit by rats running on your legs and stuff like that. Like so many different dynamics, twists and turns. We can't all say that we would have made like optimal decisions 100% of the time. So,
sure.
um,
Yeah,
however, there are some decisions that are just kind of staring you right in the face. So you gotta, you gotta.
yeah. I mean, obviously, lot of questionable moves, but I think at the end of the day, like it's only a questionable move because of, the fact that we're watching an edited program. I mean, perception is reality on Survivor. And I feel like Savannah, and to some extent, Sophie S's gameplay is indicative of that. Like every jury's different, right? I feel like this one was way more challenge focused than really like so many seasons, probably in like 15 seasons or something. Like this is such a challenge oriented season where it's like, if you win challenges, you deserve to win. If you keep winning, even though we want to vote you out, that's indicative of you playing a good game because we couldn't get you out, which isn't invalid. It's true. But I think, theoretically, if I were on a survivor jury, I would not care. If you win out and you get to the end, if you're Brad Culpepper in Game Changers, I'm not giving you my vote. Like I don't care how many immunities you won at the end. Sarah played a better game. And I'm not saying that that's indicative of Sophie versus Savannah or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if I were on the jury when Savannah couldn't name my family members and Sophie could, that would matter to me. And I think it mattered to some people, but maybe not enough to justify changing their votes. So,
Yeah, that was interesting. If we want to just kind of get into that final tribal council, then if we
Yeah,
want to just how interesting it was, probably the most entertaining tribal council that we've seen in a while. I think personally, just based
yeah,
on I thought everyone gave pretty good responses, good back and forth. Um, I think Sage got tripped up a couple of times, and I think we kind of knew that Sage was probably out of the running. Obviously, the biggest moment was Christina asking that question to Savannah about naming the family members of people on the jury, and I think it just more so highlighted Savannah's true gameplay, that Savannah was not there to really play a strong social game, and that some of the connections and bonds that she made for the sake of the game. And I think that's fine. Like, you could totally play that way. I know there was some criticism of Christina, like that's a tough question to ask. Now people aren't great with memory and like things
that's
like that.
survival.
I mean, it's yeah, I mean, like, you're on an island with people 24/7 with literally nothing to do but talk to them. How do you not know the name of a family member? Christina is talking about her mom and crying about her mom and like the impact that it had on her, and everything like that. You can't say what her mom's name. She probably talked about it all the time.
Yeah,
So like that just kind of goes to show Savannah's like nature in terms of like what she was looking for in a game player. And for someone like Christina, that meant a lot and that worked for her. Whereas Savannah also couldn't name Steven's partner's name, and Steven didn't really care. That's not
yeah,
something that really like didn't seem like that really bothered Steven. That wasn't there because I think there was probably some similarities to the way that Savannah played and the way that Steven wanted to play too. If you ask Steven that same question, he might struggle to name a family member for everyone else. And I think that's kind of the different dynamics of a jury. And I think that's something that really benefited Savannah, is that just a lot of people that were on the jury were there to play the game and were there to be cutthroat and were there to like win challenges and vote people out. Like, and that's kind of where they were. And that's where I think she got the votes, like from Alex, from Steven, and then from Sophie. Then you have Nate, you have Rizzo, there's your win. And that
yeah,
and that's and that's all it took.
yeah. And from my perspective, it's like to the people who are annoyed that Christina would ask that question. I would just say people have been asking versions of that question since at least season 4. Like I remember somebody asked Bisepia like that exact question of like, "Hey, do you really know who my family members are?" And I'm pretty sure she didn't, and she still won. And I
Mhm.
mean that was a challenge. Like season 1, that was a challenge. Like I think it was the immunity challenge before the final
Yeah.
immunity challenge was
Yeah, where you
they
had to
showed
name things about other people's family members. Yeah, like
was
that's part of the game.
yeah,
Like it really is.
Jeff passed around photos of Jenna's kids, Jenna Lewis's
Mhm,
kids, and said, "What are their names?" And then I believe Rich knew the answer.
mhm.
Rudy didn't. Sue, I think, did, and I can't speak to
No,
Kelly.
Kelly. I don't think Kelly got that point. Kelly ended up winning that challenge, but I don't think
Yeah,
she got. That's not something that helped her. But yeah, like that's a that like knowing stuff about family members. Like it's all about like letters, family visits, like getting to know these people on a personal level. That is what the foundation that Survivor is built on. It's not just game bot like whatever. It's not all that. That's why I appreciate casting people like David on 47, or sorry,
yeah,
48,
48. Yeah,
because he's not just
just this
some
weird guy.
survivor. Yeah, just some weird dude that you're just throwing on an island with all these other like survivor fans. So yeah, no, the tribal council was definitely interesting. Um I definitely think Sophie looked probably the best, had the best moment. The fact that she got 2 votes when I thought she was drawing dead. I look. I'm just gonna be completely honest. Like for me, it was Savannah or Sage. If I was on that tribal council, you make that move with knowledge is power. I don't give a crap what you do the rest of the game. You're not getting my vote. Sorry. Just
I
just point blank. Period. Unless you find a way to get Savannah and Rizzo out for sure. Like you're not getting my vote. Like I'm sorry.
I'm not to that degree, but I will say Soph really. I feel like she doubled down on her lost stocks this episode because yesterday all the stocks for her plummeted. She just absolutely did the wrong move with the knowledge is power. But it wasn't just that. It was the fact that she made this big long speech about it's finally time. I got to do what's best for my game, and I'm sorry for having to do it, but I got to look out for me in this game. And then tried going for Steven, and it didn't even work. It doesn't even matter whether it should have worked or not, because even if it did work, it wouldn't have mattered. Steven still would have gone home unanimously.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not.
and
Yeah,
and then
I would admit, and if I'm the jury, I see that I'm done. Like I'm just.
but
I'm sorry. Like it's like you have the move right there in front of you and you don't do it. Like you want here. Do you want to win the game or not?
yeah,
And you said no. you said no. I did not vote for you. You didn't vote for you. That is how I would have seen it.
And I feel like in a sense she doubled down on that this episode because when she wins the final immunity challenge, she's like, all right, well, I've gotten this far, but I got to look out for me now. And now I'm going to put in Savannah and Rizzo because I just have to. It's my only option, which is annoying on a few different levels. Number one round ago. Just you should have done it one round ago. Two, whoever wins that fire making between the two of them is gonna beat you. Like you're not winning first. Maybe she knows that. And number three, that gives Savannah a valid ammunition at Final Tribal Council to be like, hey, I stuck with my people. She flipped that on at the last second, which like to me, I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But I mean, that's something that's been happening throughout Survivor history. You look at Token Cheens at Final Tribal Council. Steven was the weasel who tried to undermine JT. JT was the guy who's going to stay loyal no matter what. And how dare you ruin what we had going on? So, it's Survivor history. So, yeah, that annoyed me. That being said, I wouldn't have been out on Soph if she pitched a good enough case. But I think honestly, there just wasn't too much to be said. Like,
yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think Soph presented her case well. Talked about her game and what she did have, and doing the aspects of like knowing like the personal stuff, mouthing the words of the family members that Savannah can't name. Like,
yeah.
Okay, like when you watch it back, you're like, okay, Savannah first place. That's why Sophie got second place. Like Sophie got second place because she had a great social game. A lot of people liked her. A lot of people were rooting for her. And at the end of the day, she just had that level of respect, even though she wasn't going to be the winner that represented the season. I think Sophie getting second place among Sage and Savannah makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
She had a great social game. So that's kudos to her on that part.
She did, but also I hate to keep ragging on Soph, but this just shows my immeasurable disappointment, I guess, which is like when she gets asked, hey, what was a move that you made in the game? She goes back to the Jeremiah move in the pre-merge. And let me tell you, if I'm on the jury in any season of Survivor and you tell me your biggest move was in the pre-merge, that's a bad answer. I'm sorry. Like, I was not...
And that's why she didn't get the votes of people like Alex or Steven or Sophie. Like,
it's like I wasn't there.
Yeah, well, Alex was there, but like, even
true.
then, like Alex was like, "You're gonna bring up a time where you tricked me." Like that's like that's like that. Not even like where you didn't have to do that kind of stuff.
That's true.
I don't know. I think I just think at the end of the day, she needed to focus in on what those people were going to respect, and they would have respected a move like taking Rizzo's idol and voting him out.
Yeah. I mean, this whole conversation is to say that obviously Savannah is a deserving winner. But the question I have to ask myself is she a good winner? And so I have my tier list of the new era Survivor winners here. And I'm just going to show you, and we're going to talk about it. So I have Savannah there's not too much here because it's only new era. I could rank all the winners ever, but let's just stay focused on
Mhm.
what we got here. I have Savannah as the second worst new era winner. That being said, she's still an okay winner. She's in C tier, like she's totally fine. But I definitely think she's on the lower end of things, and I want to get your thoughts on that, CJ. What do you think about my placement there?
Um, I I don't hate it. I kind of am very interested in the list that you have. You have D number one,
Mhm.
Rachel number two. I actually don't hate that at all. I think that's a solid 1-2 punch right there. D, I thought dominated her season from start to finish. Rachel, I think, played a really good game, even skated by some moments where she probably could have, kind of in similar Savannah fashion, could have been voted out or should have been voted out, um, and made it through. Then you have this smorgasbord. You got Marianne, Kyle, Jam Jam, and Erica. Um, I, I I honestly kind of think that you might have her too low. I think that if you just look at what she was able to accomplish, winning challenges when she needed to, and making a strong alliance, and one that was able to carry her through the times where she wasn't able to carry through herself. I think Savannah deserves to be a little bit higher. Um, I think I would probably bump her up ahead of Erica.
Mm.
To be perfectly honest with you, I think that Savannah had to work harder for her win than Erica did, whereas Erica, I think, spent a majority of the game in a power position. Did fly under the radar for most of it, but I think that's more because of the edit than anything else. But I think Erica was the benefit of a lot of other stronger stars maybe burning, flaming out in front of her. Um, and then she just ended up being the last good player standing at the end. Um, Whereas, kind of similar to Gabler, where Gabler, I think, was a decent player, not the greatest, but benefited from all of these other bigger names cannibalizing each other, going after each other, and taking each other out. And then he ended up getting out the biggest fish, in the pond, being Jesse. Um, so I think Savannah, on that B tier list is not bad, probably just ahead of Erica. Um, and I think she could probably just you could swap Erica Savannah. I think that'd be not a bad move.
I definitely think that Erica, Gabler, and Savannah all fall into a similar category. Not a tier necessarily, but a similar category of they were able to win partially because they were the best player left standing,
Mhm,
slash maybe the only good player left standing, depending on how
mhm,
you want to see it. Uh, and I think that's true of Erica. I think Xander, it's well documented now that, hey, he wasn't really taken seriously. And I mean, Deshaun didn't play a bad game, but I think he was overlooked by a lot of people as well.
mhm,
Um, Owen, a classic third place finisher in the new era. Cassidy, obviously, there are people out there who adore Cassidy. I like Cassidy, but I wouldn't call her a great survivor player. And I think here we just talked about it. Soph was a good player, and then things just kind of spiraled down for her, unfortunately. And I mean, Sage wasn't bad either, but I mean, once again, things spiraled down for her too. And the thing with Soap and the thing with Sage is it wasn't an Owen situation where the football is constantly getting pulled out from behind you. It was purely self inflicted on both of their ends, which made it more frustrating. Um,
mhm,
Now, the reason I'll still put Erica above Savannah is, and you could make the argument to actually flip them because of this, but Savannah had to just constantly be managing her threat level. She was always the biggest threat on the beach, and I know that she would be the first to tell you that if she didn't keep winning, she would be voted out. I mean, I do think that's true. I think if she didn't tie the record for immunities won by a woman, she probably wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to pitch her
mhm,
case at the end of the day. Um, and in fact, she still had to go through fire making in order to win, and she didn't want to. at the end of the day, her closest ally, her best friend in the game, arguably, still put her into fire after all they had been through. So I think that like it's hard for me to give her that much credit. Like I respect her. I respect her for going out, winning that many challenges, and once again deserving. But versus someone like Erica who was able to not only fly under the radar and let the bigger threats take each other out, but actually got brought to the end. Like I respect that more, especially in new era gameplay where that's the only way to keep yourself out of being vulnerable by not winning immunity challenges if you can't. So
Yeah,
that's my thought process.
yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think the one thing I would say in defense of that for Savannah is yes, she had to win immunity, but she didn't win all the immunities.
That's
There were
true.
times where she was vulnerable while she was still the quote unquote biggest threat, and she still managed to find a way to get herself on to the next stage of the game. And I think that is almost more impressive because it's not like a Joe Anglim situation where the moment he doesn't win immunity, we got to vote him out, guys. Like we had like kind of thing, and they rally around and they get it done. It's kind of it's just each time, each moment that Savannah was like all of a sudden vulnerable. She then used her connections, used her relationship with the people that she was closest to. Um, you know, to some degree, her relationship with Sage mattered a lot because Sage was more upset with Sophie than she was at Savannah at that moment,
Yeah.
and Sophie got voted out. She was vulnerable at the Alex vote, and they've all voted for Alex, even though both Rizzo and Savannah were available to be voted on at that tribal council. It's kind of it's you really have to take at each different moment and like really try and like think like what is going to be the determining factor of how you win the game. I think Era played a really good game, and as mentioned, like I think she just benefited from bigger targets in front of her falling by the wayside, whereas Savannah was just the biggest target and made it to the end. Um, Definitely two different styles of gameplay for sure, but yeah, no, it's a good debate.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is something I said earlier in the season, but I mean, I've been thinking about it, and I do think it rings true. Is that you've got Rachel in A tier, Savannah in C tier. They are sort of two sides of the same coin, where they're immunity tying women who played pretty strong games, who eventually did have to win and use advantages to some degree in order to help themselves get to the end, but I do think that there is a major difference with Rachel compared to Savannah, which is Rachel wasn't the biggest target on the beach initially. And Rachel was somebody who had really strong social connections to the point where the reason she was targeted wasn't necessarily because she was winning immunity challenge. It was because, oh, everybody loves her and she's going to win at the end. And then that's when she locked in and went a step further, which I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
is it's not that different from Savannah, but I think it's different enough to justify that wide placement
Mhm.
there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Just real quick before we move on to the next thing here.
please, yeah,
Shout out to Kenzie. Definitely, I know a lot of people, think, in Survivor lore that she didn't deserve that win. That should have been Charlie's. Um, Look, Kenzie, you won $1 million. You are the sole survivor. You won. You won. There are plenty of other people who think that, Tina's not complaining that she beat Colby. Um, Vesepia's not complaining.
Chris
So
Underwood,
Vesepia won. Chris Underwood's
yeah,
not complaining. Like you won Survivor. Don't worry about a ranking like this. That doesn't denigrate you know Kenzie's game, which was I I don't Kenzie's game wasn't bad. Just between when you're looking at Survivor winners, there are others who you know played better ones. That's about it.
yeah, and the truth is like not to get super into 46, but if Charlie had won, he would probably be in the same place. I just think that final tribal council was and is very even in its own way. Maybe Charlie was more deserving. Maybe he wasn't. I was glad Kenzie won because I liked her more, but that's besides the point. And
Mhm.
frankly, that may have been the reason why she got the votes anyway, which is a very valid reason to win, as
Yep.
valid as Savannah was to win for winning a bunch of immunity challenges.
Yep.
Like these
Yep.
are
You
you
win
can't fault
Survivor,
either.
okay?
Yeah,
Yep, you win
exactly.
Survivor. I mean, sometimes you win Survivor because the person that you're going up against and their closest ally who's on the jury votes for you instead.
And hey, you take
It
them.
is what it is. You take them where you can get them.
Sometimes you got fire in your eyes, and that's what matters.
Yeah.
Not everybody does. Not
Yep.
everybody
Yep.
does. But I
Yep.
mean, speaking of the new era and speaking of these seasons, this isn't the only new era equivalent tier list I put together for today, because like this really is more than just a reflection of Survivor 49, in my opinion, because we are at hopefully the end of the new era. Um, Perhaps 50 with it being in the hands of me and you, the fans even, will hopefully be able to bring in a new era, and if not us, maybe Jimmy Fallon will for us. uh,
Yeah, we can talk about 50 in a little
we
like
will, we certainly
yeah.
will. But I did want to talk about the new era, because we're talking about new era and sort of how 49 ranks on all our seasons, and I'll agree with you in this regard. I agree. I think it's a bottom 10 season. I really do. Like, I was not inspired. And I don't have my rankings of all the seasons here, but like I just did with the winners, I do have my ranking of the new era seasons. And so we can talk about this, and you will see some parallels between the winners and what we have here. Not super strong, but I mean, we have D's season 45 in S. We have Rachel's season 47 in A, Marianne's season in B, Gabler's in C. Um, Now it kind of goes off from there and it does its own stuff, but this is sort of what I think, and I'm sure that you will disagree with this, CJ, and I'd be happy to give my philosophy in a second, but I want to hear your thoughts and where you disagree with me.
This actually, Joey, I don't have too much to quarrel with you with. I go back and forth between whether or not 45 and 47 are my favorite new era seasons all the time.
Yeah,
So I actually almost think that they should probably just be on the same tier because to me they're that close.
fair enough.
Um, I really just like I'm like, oh man, 45 were so good. 47 was so good too. And that's a tough line to walk. So I think you got those. If you had those flip flop, I wouldn't actually argue too much with you because I think they're both really good. 46, I think is really a cult favorite. It's
Yeah,
just the post Banu world is just episode after episode after episode of entertaining uh moments, gameplay, confessionals. It's such an interesting cast of characters that meld together. Every vote is different. So many people voted out with idols in their pockets. It's just I really thought with 46, I never knew what was going to happen. And I
it,
think
it
that's what
really
made that
is.
season so exciting.
It really is the cult season of the new era,
Mm,
I'd say.
mm,
And it's like, I like it, you like it.
mm,
I think it's much more equivalent to like, I mean, everybody said this when the season was airing, but I'll repeat it, where people were saying it was like Survivor Gabon. I
mhm,
wouldn't go that far, but I think it has the same niche quality to it, where it's
mm,
like you're not going to get peak Survivor gameplay. You're not even going to get peak, uh, you know, peak wackiness. There's a lot of wackiness going on. You're not going to get like everything you dreamed of. Not a lot of survival, but what you will get is insanity, and there
mm.
you go. Um,
Yeah.
and a weird, interesting ending that we just talked about. Um, I think 46 would definitely be good on a rewatch. I maybe like a year and a half ago, I rewatched like one or two Banu episodes just because I felt like it. And I was like, you know what? It was pretty good. Like it was pretty good in retrospect, knowing sort of how the season plays out. And maybe that's part of the streaming service change, where these episodes are made way more for streaming now. I don't know, but I had fun with it. So 46.
Yeah, yeah, no, 46 good. 42, 43, that's always a tough one for me. I like 43 a lot more than I think a lot of other people do. I probably would have those ones swapped. Just because I'm a big fan. I think a lot of people that hate on 43 because of the winner and how the ending edit and just kind of came out of nowhere. look, for me, that makes a season work for me if I don't see
Yeah.
something coming. So it didn't hit me until like right at the end where I was like, could Gabler win this thing? I was actually thinking that Owen was going to win, to be honest with you.
Mm.
So like, that's kind of weird. But like when you have a situation where you have all of these kind of star players, and then you're like, okay, you kind of do feel like you were left, hanging a little bit because with the final three, it's not the people who we had expected to be there. If it's Jesse, Cody, Carla, like, do we feel completely different with this season? If that's the final three, maybe. But then you still had Dwight, you had Noel, you had Janine, like you had a lot of really powerful Gabler, Sammy, like this, like that is it's such a great cast. Like I really like 43. Um, Ixnay, whatever the winner was. And then we kind of get to this bottom tier list, and I think you kind of got it kind of right here. 41, I think, was a tough one, but it's 40. It was their first time back after COVID. I don't want to
It's
put
it's unique, even compared
yeah,
to
it's
42.
kind of it's almost like it's its own thing, 41.
Yeah,
And then 48 has its detractors. It kind of just has its moments where you're like, is it gonna go up there? But it never really does.
kind of like
I think my
49. Yeah.
I think my biggest surprise is that you have 44 ranked so low, Joey. I mean, this is something I did not know about you. I did not know uh, that you were not a Tika 3 guy. So I'd love if you can share your thoughts. I mean, you have 44 behind 49, and I'm wondering why.
I I would love to clarify. So it's not that I'm an anti Tika 3 person. I'm an anti Tika 1 person, and that one person is Carson. Um, Not a Carson fan at all.
Mhm.
Jamie, I'm fine with. He, deserving winner, good player. Carolyn, we all love Carolyn. Shouts out Carolyn. Um, but the thing is, Survivor 44 has a phenomenon that actually applies to this season somewhat, where it's my least favorite trope that I've seen in the new era, and 44 is the biggest example of it, where it is Revenge of the Nerds the entire time. It is super energetic. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so nerdy. Survivor Nerds. And you know what? I'm hosting a Survivor podcast right now. I know how to be nerdy about Survivor. It's fine. Like, it's cool. I'm fine with it. But Survivor 44, it's like half the players. We were just talking about earlier the importance of having diversity in the types of people you bring on Survivor. And I feel like 44 is the opposite example of that. It is the most super fan heavy that the season's gotten. It says something that the person who we're like, oh wow, that person is like really not of the survivor we know on the season is Danny, who was still a guy who found an idol and was, was still a pretty big survivor fan. He just was like just looked different. He just
Yeah.
didn't look like a nerd to the same extent. And that was the weird chaotic guy on the season. So I
Yeah,
did it.
I agree. I actually do agree. I probably would put 44 still above 49, maybe. But I think that 44 just was a lot so suffered from some of the similar things that 49 did, I think, for me. Just felt pretty predictable at points in time. And then the dynamics between the casts was just not as entertaining. Once Matthew was medevaced, um, the season really just kind of took a dip for me in terms of how much I cared about the rest of the characters and how much I was invested in what was happening. I mean, so much was spent on the Matt and Franny of it all,
Oh my
which,
god. Yeah.
which, you know, sure, that's great, but like, this is not Big Brother. Like, I get it. They're kind of a thing. Why we're still talking about it. Okay, all right, cool. That's nice. Okay, next
Even after
episode.
Matt gets
Oh,
voted out,
oh,
we're still
oh,
talking about it. Yeah.
we're still talking about it. And we're still talking about it. And we're still talking about it. It just kind of never became a thing. And then you have a lot of characters who just kind of end up being forgettable. Where you're
Lauren.
just like,
Yeah.
really, what did you do? Lauren, unfortunately, Brandon,
Yeah, Brandon for sure.
uh,
Yeah.
uh, Gosh,
So forgettable, it's hard to even say. I
who
mean,
hit the shot in the dark?
Jamie Lynn
Jamie,
Ruiz. Well,
Jamie, yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Jamie Lynn Ruiz.
Okay,
She's the
no, sorry.
saving grace of 44 to me.
No,
But that's just
no. I do like her. I was just her name was escaping me. And then you just kind of have a smattering of other players in here, like everyone that
Kane.
left for Tika,
Yeah,
Josh.
right. I
It
forgot his
just
name. Sarah. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
who probably the biggest unknown of in Survivor history, this inheritance advantage, which will
Oh
we
my
were just
God.
a group of us were just talking about the other day. But yeah, just I don't know, 44. I also had pretty low, but I would probably still put it a little bit above 49. I think 49 is probably the worst new era season that we've got so far. But
It's an easy argument to make.
mm,
It's really
yeah,
probably the easiest argument to make out of all of these because even if you don't like 44 like me, you could still be like, but Joey, there's Carolyn, and I'll have to give it up. I'll be like, yep, it
mhm.
does have Carolyn. Or you could be like, well, I think 41's the worst season. I'd be like, well, at least they were trying something. Or you could
Yeah,
be
right.
like, I think 48's the worst season, and you'll be like, but you can't deny the Joe and Eva moment. With Survivor 49, I mean, they don't that moment doesn't exist. The moment is Jake gets bit by a snake, which is a crazy moment. I'll give it up, but like a medevac isn't enough to carry a season. Like
Mhm.
If Cal Wrong was just Caleb getting medevaced, it would be crazy, but that wouldn't make the season good or passable or whatever you think about Cal Wrong.
Yeah.
But it's everything else around it that makes it a pretty all right to a great season. So there you go.
No, no, totally hear where you're coming from.
Yeah. So those are kind of my thoughts on 49 compared to the rest of what's going on here, the rest of the new era, because I mean, we're kind of at the end of the new era now, hopefully. And as we sort of usher ourselves into Survivor 50, first, I do want to talk about this cast because that's the other tier list I made. And so I want an excuse to talk about it. Because I want to, before we go into 50, which is hopefully going to be so personality driven with so many more like personalities being showcased. I'm crossing my fingers. Please, please, higher powers that be. I want to focus on the personalities of this season because, as we were talking about before, sometimes it did feel a little samey, but was it actually? Let's figure that out. Um, I don't mean to spoil my thoughts, but kind of. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of grading on a curve here. Um, in normal seasons, you wouldn't see Shannon in S tier. You just wouldn't.
Mhm.
You probably wouldn't see Rizzo in A tier. You probably wouldn't see Jawan in F tier, which is what we're dealing with here. But I'm grading on a curve, um, just so you get a sense of how I felt. Because if we're being real, if I wasn't grading on a curve, everybody would be in the B to D tier range. Maybe Shannon would be in A tier. But those are for my own reasons. We can get into it. What do you think about this tier list, CJ?
Well, okay, I gotta go with the just kind of the most glaring thing. Jawan in F tier is just criminal. I honestly think he was probably one of the better characters on the season. Um, just a real bolt of being genuinely himself, awkward and weird. And you know what Survivor needs sometimes, Joey? You need awkward and weird people. You need a Billy every once in a while on Survivor.
I love
Okay.
a Billy.
Okay. You need that. Or Juwan gave Billy energy, but he also seemed like he was good at the game. And that part was, did he make some decisions that were like maybe not beneficial? No, he didn't. But again, a lot of these players were playing scared. And I think that is more so what was the detriment to his overall game. But in terms of Juwan as a character, um, absolutely should be up higher, way higher over anyone else. Like the fact that you don't have Juwan in the A tier, I just it's a crime. Um, but that's neither here nor there. Shannon actually being an S tier, I actually am totally fine with. I think um, the most I was entertained was when Shannon was on the show.
That's
So
what I'm saying. That's what I'm
so
saying.
I totally agree with that. That being said, I feel like that also means you got to bump Sage up because Shannon's number one opposition on the show was
Fair enough.
Sage, and that's moment where Sage didn't give Shannon a hug is probably the number two moment for me on the season. Um,
Very fair.
so there's
Very
that.
fair.
After that, look, man, you can shift around people, from here to there. I didn't really even find out who Sophie was until I think the second episode after the merge. So I would probably drop Sophie down. Jason has a personality. I'm not quite sure.
I
So
should probably put Jason down a tier. That's how
Jason's
I feel.
probably Jason's probably lower. I thought Nicole was fun while we had Nicole, so I think C makes sense. Same thing with Jeremiah. Matt, um, he came up with a cool alliance name, kind of. That was about all he brought to the season.
Hmm.
And then Jake obviously um
Got bitten by a snake.
got bitten by a snake. So I don't know. Like I don't. There's not much determination between MC's personality. Like MC was a really kind of imposing character like in challenges, but she never even won an immunity. So where's the depth there? She can drop. Nate's interesting. He's fine. Savannah, look, I don't even know if I would consider Savannah a villain per se because of there was just so much things that just felt a little inauthentic with Savannah. I almost feel like Savannah should drop. Um,
Yeah, Savannah
yeah,
was the weirdest placement for me
yeah,
because I'm a journalist myself,
mhm,
not a former journalist, a current one, to be clear. But so I know people like Savannah. It's a personality type, like this, like very straightforward, like
mhm,
just tells it how it
yep,
is, or at least says they tell it how it is, and maybe even kind of sort of fake in their own way. Like this is a type of person I deal with all the time. That being said, in any world, Savannah's a villain. And I think the fact of the matter is, it was proven this last episode when she couldn't name any people on the jury's family members. I mean, if nothing else, that is shows that she was a self-centered game player. The fact that it worked out for her doesn't mean it's not true. It also doesn't mean she played a bad game because she played a little more self-centered than some other people. But I think, especially if you're looking at the new era, you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who fills those qualities of being a villain, especially somebody that's being given a winner's edit at the same time that
yeah.
fulfills the qualities of being, a winner.
Yeah.
Like
No, for sure, for sure. That this if Survivor did a heroes versus villains too, Savannah would be
a
one of
lot.
the first people you'd call
Yeah.
for the villains tribe, no doubt about it. But in terms of entertainment and personality standpoint, like there were people who ended up being on heroes versus villains on their original seasons that I would be like, why are you here? Why is Candace on the hero tribe, guys? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But so I mean, just hey, look. Okay, I first just Shannon S tier, 100%, totally fine. A tier, Sophie Rizzo, sure. I'm not fine with that. Juwan needs to be on the A tier. Uh, Nate, if you want to put Savannah, fine. Sage on the B tier. And then after that, it's a race to the bottom. It is a smorgasbord of why are you here? What's going on here? Even Steven, and I like Steven. He is as C can be.
Yeah.
It
I
is
I want to explain my justifications for Steven and partially Jawan because it's really not their fault. It kind of is, but it really isn't. A lot of this just comes down to what we see on television. And I feel like, especially in these last few episodes, they highlighted the things that annoy me most about Survivor editing. I think about the end of the final things Jawan says to the camera before final tribal council, where he all of a sudden decides to bring back this analogy, probably told to by the producers, about the monster in the horror movie, which, Jesus Christ, if I had to keep hearing about this monster for another 5 years, I'm going to lose it. But anyway, he's talking about this monster, and it's a horror movie, and Savannah's the ultimate final girl, and I'm over here like, I'm not an anti-analogy person. They're important for making the audience understand what you're talking about. But buddy, you're out of the game.
But
You're not a
Joey,
tribal council anymore.
Joey, it is a constant TV media trope. You and I both worked in TV media. Okay. You start with something, you end with something. Survivor this season started with the monster in the horror movie, and right at the end, they go right back to the horror movie. And maybe at the end of the day, that's what season 44 was, or season 49 was. See,
Yeah.
Survivor season 49 was a horror movie.
You know what? Why even stop at bookending Survivor 49? We can bookend the entire new era that way because Jeff started 41 talking about the monster too, about how Survivor's like a horror movie. The monster. You never know when it's going to get you. And here we are 5 years later, and we're still talking about it. So you know what? That's why Jawan's an F tier because I can't stand hearing about this monster anymore. I just can't do it. And Steven, to a lesser extent, also annoyed me when he was still talking about rocket science puns during his final tribal question. It was also like, give me a break, dude. I get it. It's television. I get it. I'm taking it too seriously. I get it. But I have a podcast, so I get to talk about my annoyances with stuff like that.
Yeah.
So whatever. Anyways, yeah, that's the tier list. I really like people like Nate, people like MC. They seemed cool, but we just didn't. I didn't see enough of them. Nate especially. He seemed like just a very normal guy, which I appreciate a normal guy on Survivor.
Mhm.
But he got voted out before he could really develop into even more. So I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't call this season like Gabon, which is affectionately called the season of all first boots. This is not that. There's some good game players here. There's some good strategic players here. There's good like just general characters here. It's just not the best full crop of all in between.
Yeah.
When it doesn't help that the guy who's supposed to be the big strong challenge beast is on the disaster tribe, so that and
It
then gets
also
bitten
gets
by a
bitten
snake.
by a snake. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's that. It doesn't help that, a lot of the players that you're depending on for, adding different perspectives and different personalities in terms of their backgrounds and like things that they've experienced in their lives, like Jeremiah, like Nicole, like Jason, they're, either eliminated early or like just don't really have a lot of really game savvy or person. Like I think Jason would, like, at the end of the day, I feel like Jason really just felt like he was a deer in the headlights a lot of the
Oh
time,
yeah,
like
he
when he was
looked
out
like a
there.
deer in headlights. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it just kind of, yeah, I just didn't really get like he grasped the moment of like what it was, and he seemed like he did, like when he was talking about him being an alternate, but which is why I took him in my draft. But just didn't pan out the way that I think a lot of us thought.
Yeah, and I think Christina was kind of a similar story in the fact that, especially by the end, it felt like she was a deer in the headlights, kind of just like waiting for whatever to happen to her. I remember the moment where she says, "Yeah, I'm voting with you," and Savannah's like, "Who are you voting for?" And she just has the most terrified look on her face. And I think from that moment going forward, it felt like Christina did not want to be on the island anymore. But I think that's what happens sometimes. I feel like that's Survivor. Like she's not the
Yep.
first person to inexplicably make it near the end, despite not
Despite
necessarily being
everything.
good at the game.
Yeah.
That's it
In
happens
spite of herself.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts on the season. Um, Before we get into the Survivor 50 talk, anything else on your mind from the finale?
Um, it's like I said, it's kind of 49 just kind of goes down as a womp womp. Just a little bit unfortunate. I wouldn't say that it didn't live up to my expectations because I didn't really have
Yeah.
super high expectations. So the fact that I was still a little disappointed is a little surprising. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, we're gonna get a few of these players maybe come back in future seasons if that's how Survivor wants to do things. I'm happy for Rizzo to get a shot at 50. I think he's got a unique story, unique background. Um, I'm not gonna lie, Savannah not breaking the record for female challenges wins in the season really makes me question why she was put on 50. It was like,
Yeah,
okay, if you're like, and now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure she's the only female challenge beast that is there. I mean, Stephanie like is
yeah,
viewed
but
as a challenge beast.
it's been a while.
But yeah, like Stephanie, we haven't seen you like do it, but I know that Stephanie's in good shape and like
Sure,
she's
sure.
gonna be fine. I'm not worried about Stephanie challenge wise. As long as she doesn't dislocate her shoulder again. The thing that Savannah's probably like, okay, we need a female that can win some challenges and do some damage here. Okay, so why didn't you get Rachel?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of right there. It
Well,
just really seems and then also like I don't if she breaks the record if she broke the record, I would be like she has to be on 50. Like
yeah,
I would have been like completely
like
understand.
Ozzy. Yeah,
Like you can't have the female challenge beast not on 50 when you have her like right there. Like you're about to do the show. You can't just be like, hey, we know you just broke this record and you're super important, but we're gonna need to get you out of here. She doesn't break the record. Why is she there? Like
I, I will say I understand your point. I would have preferred to have Rachel, but that being said, I don't mind Savannah being on 50 because I do think that it's an interesting dynamic for a few different reasons. Number one, once again, on with Rizzo, kind of interesting. Number two, I mean, she is a challenge beast. We didn't have anybody else. Number three, people don't know her, which I think is always kind of interesting when it comes to these returnee seasons. Is I mean, it's an
that's
unfair
fair.
advantage sometimes, but
Mhm.
I mean, it always sort of shakes up the game a little bit when you have
But in the
people
past,
people don't
yeah,
know.
in the past, you've only had you've. I think it's only been two people once, and that was for Game Changers with Michaela and Zeke, where Michaela.
Yeah, James and Amanda in Micronesia. Um,
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, James and Amanda. So yeah, the two times where James and Amanda Micronesian because Malcolm was the only
yeah.
one for Caramon
Um,
and Russell was the only one for Heroes versus Villains
also, also
and Rupert.
Shireen and who else? Who else in Worlds Apart? Is
But
Shireen and
everyone,
someone else?
everyone saw that season
That's
though.
true. That actually, that's
So
a good
so
point. Yeah,
yeah, so that's so everyone like
good point.
they went to go film that after the finale because I'm pretty sure they filmed 32 before
They
Second
did.
Chances.
They did. Yeah.
Um, so they just kind of rushed Second Chances, which hey, you know what? I feel like Survivor should probably do that a little bit more often and
I don't
give them
mind.
less time to think, give them less time to think about what it was because they took them. They threw them out there on Second Chances. They came back. They edited the season for us, and it was a good
Don't
season.
mind.
So
My
maybe
favorite season. I love Second Chance.
yeah,
It's
so maybe it's an option. Um, but at the end of the day, I think 49, when you right now probably ranks pretty low for a lot of people. Maybe it's better on a rewatch, maybe like 2 years from now when we're not thinking about, you know, all that, maybe gonna get a better vibe from it. I don't know if the gameplay feels like better. I don't know if the characters feel like they get better, but at the very least, you can probably like be like, okay, maybe Savannah comes off a little bit more likable on a
yeah,
rewatch.
exactly.
Maybe that's it.
You'll get a
But
multi-season arc, which will
yeah,
be interesting regardless.
well, that'll be nice. So happy for Savannah in that regard. Um, I don't think like it's not like she doesn't deserve to come back. And I don't think
No.
that's what I'm saying. I just don't know if she needs to be on Survivor.
The-
This is
yeah.
Survivor 50, Joey. Like you know what I'm saying? Like this is Survivor 50. Did you see Colby?
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Um,
this is Survivor 50.
yeah, and another thing, my one last thing about why I think it's cool that Savannah's back is we've never had a winner compete back to back before, at least in U.S. Survivor history. Uh, Now there have been people who thought they had won, being Russell and Amanda, and then didn't. But
Amanda thought she won.
oh yeah, yeah, she did.
Is
Yeah,
really?
I'm pretty positive she did, or at
Oh
least
my gosh, I had not heard that in the Survivor streets. That is wild to me. I'm not the biggest Amanda Kimmel fan, so
I
that is
I don't think she was Russell Hantz about it. You know, I don't think
sure, sure.
she was much more humble, but I definitely think that like she told people that like she thought that she won maybe twice. I don't think maybe once at least, but
Got it.
you
That
know,
would make some sense. No, yeah, like I think that's interesting. uh,
it's definitely interesting. Yeah,
I would assume that if knowing the new era and knowing these players, I think it's gonna behoove them not to mention what happened. Like you can probably say like you can probably build a world that they worked together. That's probably not like I don't think anyone's gonna assume that they're mortal enemies. I don't think they're gonna be able to ever
sure.
sell anyone on that. But at the very least, like maybe you can be like, oh yeah, we tried to make these big moves, they didn't pan out, and um, you won't believe this girl who collects blackheads won our season. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I
maybe
definitely
just
think that like it's interesting because on one hand, I'm like, if you lie about this and like you and Rizzo aren't on the same page, like that's gonna blow up in your face. But on the other hand, I'm like, and I don't know the tribe dynamics. I don't know how they stack up. But like
okay.
if you're on the same tribe as Colby or Jenna Lewis and they know that you're a winner, you're gonna get targeted. Especially with Jenna Lewis.
Oh yeah.
Assuming she's similar to how she was in All Stars, which
Oh
I
yeah,
think she
no,
is.
Jenna. This is
So
Jenna Lewis. Okay, like
yeah,
she like Jenna Lewis is. I mean, if we want to get into 50 now, like we
let's
totally
go
can.
ahead. Segue. Yeah.
I am Joey. I'm so excited for 50.
Mhm.
These are a huge crop of some of my favorite players, and some of the players that I've wanted to see play again. Sure, there are some players who I'm like, you're coming out here for a fifth time. Do we need to see it? I don't know. I like Ozzy. Okay, what do you want from me? Okay,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem that Ozzy.
Ozzy's got
Okay,
a dumb haircut.
yeah,
He's already bringing more than he did in Game Changers. So like that's a
yeah,
plus.
right. Like people are mad that Cerie's playing a more Cerie. I'm sorry. Like, do you want like one of the best strategists in reality TV history, like to just be sitting on the sidelines? Like, look, call up if Cerie says yes, you answer you bring back Cerie. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, it is what it is.
It's like like I get it. There has been a lot of Soriano televisions over the past like 3 years, but it's like complaining your steak is too juicy or your lobster is too
Yeah.
butter. You
Yeah.
know, it's like
Right.
I understand it's a wealth of riches. You're drowning in great survivor players, but like that's
Right. I
not the
know.
hill to die on. I'm
I
sorry.
know, right? Like I'm not like gonna just bat a thousand for that Sari was the one that they brought back. I
Yeah.
like the fact that it's I told this to Rob Sestradino on one of the Q&As.
Mhm.
Like there's a big like missing gap of like 20s representation, and I don't care. like
Yeah.
like the 20s were not
I
like prime time survivor gameplay, and in terms of the players that did come back from the 20s, we already saw them come
I was
back.
about to say, I think
Kai,
it says something. And I say this is somebody who defends the 20s, who like I love South Pacific. I love Philippines. I get value out of One World, even if I think it sucks. You know, like I appreciate the 20s. I love Caramoan. The people were saying to bring back from the 20s were Andrea and Malcolm. And it's like I love both those players, but it's like if you showed me Andrea again, would I be popping off? Maybe marginally, but I'd much rather have, say, a Jenna Lewis than an Andrea. You know?
yeah, right. Like I'm sorry, we don't get Andrea. We got Jenna Lewis. Like I'm sorry, I'm rooting for that. Would Malcolm is one of the players that like I'm just absolutely gutted that he was not one of
Yeah,
the people brought back. I think Malcolm's a great player. He's the kind of player that like you gotta try and figure out a way to make it work to like get him on there. Okay. there's 3 winners on the season. I already don't like that. Mike
I
White in the season, don't love that. But it's when you had Davey sitting right there, for obvious reasons, that was I think a big omission. But look, you can't just rain on the parade for the misses. Aubrey, I understand that Aubrey, I think, was like a late switch between Aubrey and some people.
yeah.
Um, but
Yeah,
Chrissy Hoffbeck is back, guys.
yeah.
Come on now, that's awesome.
I think my two biggest, like, it's way easier to be positive. They're way easier to be negative than it is positive because there are so many positives. Like, I could go on and on about how happy I am to see coaching Q in the same episode of Survivor. Like, that's awesome. My biggest misses, quote unquote, would be probably Kyle and Aubrey being back. Uh, my thing for Aubrey is just, like, to be transparent. I've never cared about Aubrey. I feel like Survivor tries to force feed me Aubrey and is now doing it a fourth time, and it's just like it's not happening at this point. Like, that's just me. Whatever.
Sure.
And then for Kyle, it's like I just we showed the winner tier list and we didn't even talk about him. I think that says something. Like, I mean, Kyle's a solid winner, but I'm much more interested in seeing Camilla play again than Kyle play again, even with the intrigue that Kyle's a winner. You know.
I think that there's a reason that they cast Kyle. I don't necessarily think it's solely because of the fact that he won Survivor. I think that there's an archetype that Kyle was able to fill, that they needed to some degree. And I totally get that. I think the one of the things that, like, I kind of already explained, I think Davey not being on the cast was, as opposed to Mike White, was a miss. That's an easy swap. I think that Malcolm not being on the cast at all, I think is a miss. I feel like you figure out a way to make that work. I don't really care what you got to do to make it work. You got to figure out a way to get Malcolm on there. And then there's like Aubrey's back again. I was a fan of Aubrey, but then here were the positives to Aubrey being there. Aubrey and Q interacting, which is probably like appointment. That is going to be appointment viewing for me.
I hope Q brings up Mariah and is like, she's going to be Mariah again. Like, I would love that.
No, here's what. Okay, turn of events, Joey. They're not even going to see it coming.
I won't.
Aubrey Q, final 2, baby.
and Q wins. I'm in. I'm good.
Yeah. So that's where it is. And then you've got just so many characters who you just like Coach. Like, they got Coach back. That's awesome. Like, I don't care, love Coach or hate him. If he's preaching about another cult, like,
who hates Coach at this point?
Yeah, like, it's fine.
Nobody does anymore.
Okay.
We all love him.
Like, we've got, and like, also like I would love to see Rob Siston, on Survivor again. So like it's things like that. But Christian's gonna be back. Genevieve, who I am probably like the biggest Genevieve stan on the planet. Like, I think Genevieve's gonna be a great spot.
There were 24 contestants. I literally sat here and forgot Genevieve was on the season. Like, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Because it's exactly. Like, she's gonna fly under the radar. Yeah. No one's gonna like see her coming, and I think she has a chance. I like spoiler alert if you want to know who CJ's winner pick's gonna be. But and then you have like what you need to make a Survivor season complete. Jonathan's on the cast.
Yeah.
Big strong. You got big strong guy. You got Ozzy, Colby, all American.
Colby looks old, but like in a good way. Like, him and Coach,
right?
Like, they're seasoned.
Yeah, no, right?
Like,
they look great. Like, Colby, I'm like, Colby looks. He just, like, when they showed Colby in the preview, I was like, it's like there's something in his eye. Like it's almost like
somehow, like, in his own way, he looks younger than he did on Heroes versus Villains. Like,
exactly.
So
exactly. So I instantly, all the criticism that people had about Colby being back, I saw that preview and I was like, I'm so happy he's here. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like,
how can you be frustrated that Colby's back? He's like the Survivor contestant. You know what I mean?
Chrissy Hofbeck. I'm so happy that she's back. To get
She
a shot,
I'm
shot
glad
that
that
she
she got the
probably should have
chance.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah, a shot that she probably should have had a long time ago. Um, to play again. And then I'm interested to see the dynamics between some of these new era players and the current era players. Um,
I definitely
are
think, yeah, there will be more respect for old era players than I think even Winners at War had. I think that like I could see Camilla pairing up with, say, I don't even know, like a Stephanie, or her pairing up with, I don't know. There aren't that, all things considered, there aren't that many old era contestants. Like mostly it's a lot
like
of people from
six.
the 30s, but
Yeah,
like
it's like
that's it's
I
fine.
think like they consider it like anything but pre-20. I think there's like only six of them, right? Like it's
Hmm.
Jenna, Colby, Suri, Coach,
Yeah.
Ozzy, Stephanie. I think that's it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's right. But I mean,
Yeah.
if you're gonna pick six, that's pretty good,
No,
all things
that's a solid
considered.
six.
So,
And then it goes to um, people like Aubrey, Christian,
mhm.
Angelina. Angelina is
Angelina's
on this
here.
season.
Angelina's
Um,
here.
so I mean, Mike White, who I may have my qualms about Mike White being there, but he's gonna be a good confessional, and
Mhm.
he's gonna be entertaining, and he's gonna be fun, and he's gonna bring a lot of positivity. And then you have
Rick
people like
Devens. Yeah.
Rick Devens, and then you have the new era players, and how are they gonna coexist? You know, from what I understand, the cast of 46 do not get along. So
That'll be
Charlie,
fun.
Tiffany, Q,
Yeah.
what's their dynamic gonna be like? How are they gonna play together? Will the new era players will they vibe? Will they want to really work together? How much do they stay connected, in terms of pre-gaming, at the aspect of it all? You know, the Coach Ozzy dynamic. There's still some
I'm gonna
bad
love
blood
that.
that from what I
Uh,
understand, that there might be still exist. There's so many different variables. Who can't wait to see Coach have a one-on-one conversation with our Rizgod, the Riz God, baby. Who
I'm getting
who
excited.
this is it's I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of characters that I'm excited to see play again. A lot of people are excited to see play again. Emily is on this cast. It hadn't even mentioned Emily yet. There's
It's
just
true.
so many people who I'm excited to see just play. And just I'm raring to go, man. I
And,
wish we could just get this thing started now.
and you know what? Shout out to Tiffany being on the cast too, because she's definitely the most like out of left field. But I don't mind an out of left field. Like you need that sort of like almost a wild card of like expectation. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate that. So shouts out to her being on the season. Like I'm good with it. Shouts out to the whole cast. Like when they were playing that trailer and they had Coach reading his poem that I don't think exists. It was awesome. And to see Colby's face and to see all of that, and it was great. And then the celebrities showed up, and a lot of people, myself included, were like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!"
Yeah, Survivor has officially they're doing their deal or no deal island best. This is Survivor trying to match traders, I think, right now. By bringing in this look again, it's Survivor hands of the fans or Survivor the hands of Jeff Probst's friends.
It's a good question. I can't speak to that. Um, I do want to say though, like seeing Mr. Beast and Zach Brown and all that, like it at first I was like, oh, okay, this is like we're really just having fun. But when they started talking about the Jimmy Fallon idol, I was like, it made sense to me. It clicked in my
I
brain.
didn't vote. I didn't vote on the Billie Eilish boomerang idol, Joey. I didn't. That's not what I voted for.
But at the same time, it's like we all expected it, right? Like we were going through the voting process. I talked about it with you on this very podcast where we were like, I kind of don't know what we're voting for, but I'll go with the one I think makes sense. but it's like, it was vague wording for sure.
I know for a fact we were both like, hey, minimal advantages or whatever like that, because no one was like none, but obviously like the way that they put it in the wording, it was like, do you like gameplay that is boring and lame and anything, then pick this one. If you kind of like Survivor and if you kind of like TV, then vote on this one in the middle. But if you want what it was like dynamic advantages or something like that, if you want big like absolute like show stopping fireworks, baby, pick this one. Like, and I just said at the time, like, it doesn't matter what we vote for. Survivor's just gonna do the thing, like whatever they want, which is evident by the fact that there is a advantage in the game called the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. It's not just
Crazy.
that there's an idol that is a boomerang idol. It is branded the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. We are now in the age of Survivor where we're talking about branding. Okay, we're like we like
Jeff
there
Probst
will
heard
be
us. Yeah, Jeff Probst
there
heard
will
us
be
talk about
TikToks.
Yeah, Jeff Probst heard us talk about the Tyler Perry Super Idol and was like, "I have an idea. That's great." Even though the celebrity, endorsed advantage is one of the, in its own way, like maligned ones in Survivor history. Even though it worked out well in Kagayan,
They
it was
didn't
fun.
call it. They didn't. Well, first of all, it was the Super Idol has been a thing. Like it's not like
Yes, it's
it's
true.
not like a thing that hasn't existed. It was Terry's Idol was a Super Idol. Yule's Idol was a Super Idol. The idol in Korong could have became Super Idol. So it's not like it wasn't like
Yes.
a not known thing. But they didn't call it the Tyler Perry Super Idol on the show.
No, they
On the
didn't.
show, they are calling it the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, and there's some advantage that involves Jimmy Fallon. That look, is that what I voted for? Am I interested?
Yeah.
I have been theorizing what this Boomerang Idol could be for like
Days.
the entire like days. It's super interesting.
Yeah, I think the thing about it that is fascinating to me, it kind of has to do with just like, it's kind of just the general concepts, right? To me, it's like you have your Billie Eilish boomerang idol, you got your Jimmy Fallon whatever idol, but it's like if we're looking at Survivor history, doing weird things with the returnee seasons is not a new thing. Like Survivor, for whatever reason, for better or for worse, loves cramming their weird twists into returnee seasons, especially lately, especially with game changers and with even Edge of Extinction and Winners at War. Like this is what they do. They want to showcase the season as big and as over the top as they can. Which
Yeah, this is the new age fire tokens. This is
yeah,
the new age uh
Edge of
the what was
Extinction.
the power the what would they have in Nicaragua
Oh
the
yeah, the amulet, right?
necklace of power or whatever that
Yeah,
thing was.
yeah,
Like it's just the new thing that Survivor's gonna try, which I love. I love Survivor
yeah.
trying
I
new
don't mind
things.
that.
Why are why are we putting a name on it? Why is Mr.Beast on on an
Such a
island?
good question.
Why is what is Zach Brown like? Is he gonna teach him how to build a shelter? Like I like what is what is going on here? Like this is very different than the guy who checked Rupert Selchard on All Stars
Yeah.
and said how bad it was. Now we've got Zach Brown who's gonna like what is he gonna come judge the SOS competition? Is that
That'd be fun. I mean, that'd be fun. I mean, to be honest,
what
I
are Zach
knew
Brown's credentials to judge the SOS competition, Joey?
I don't know. I don't know if he's built anything in his life. I mean, he's a country star, not a building star. So I don't really know. Um, but no, I mean, this is all to say that like my hope is that sure you had your Billie Eilish boomerang idol, can't do anything about that. That's there. We got to accept that, whatever it means. When it comes to the Mr. Beast and the Zach Brown of it all, I'm hoping it's like a Cochrane and Game Changers sort of thing, where it's like or second chance, whatever. No, it was a game
Those
changer.
game changers. Those
Where
game
where
changers.
it's like, hey, you win a reward, or Mr.Beast is here to help out with the challenge, everybody. He's gonna be showing off some Feastables chocolate for you to enjoy if you win the reward. Which like sucks, right? It's like, oh my god, Survivor's gone corporate. I can't believe it. But I mean, I look back at Survivor history and I'm like, what are some of the most awesome rewards in Survivor history? When Coach had to watch Jack and Jill starring Adam Sandler, or when in Survivor Palau they went on a reward and had Pringles with Survivor trivia on them, or in Australian Outback when they had one Dorito and a sip of Mountain Dew to pique their appetites before a
At the
challenge.
46 and the Applebee's and the barbecue bacon burger that
Literally one of the most
apparently
iconic
Liz,
moments of the new era. Literally.
yeah,
So.
that apparently Liz has every night for dinner.
Because she's a billionaire and can afford it. Um, but yeah, this is all to say that like we're at the point of the new era where it's like we're desperate for change, right? We're all desperate for change, especially after this season, which felt so stagnant in a lot of ways. It's like, okay, can we just have something new? Well, you got it. You got a cast of 24 people with probably a live reunion with maybe no fire making. Well, actually, I don't mind if there's fire making or not, but there could be a change in that regard, right? So there are opportunities for changes in terms of like things we actually collectively voted on that we like know definitively. And sure, we might not have all the power to change the game. We might not be able to make sure that there's no Billie Eilish boomerang idol. The season's already been filmed. We can't change that. But I still think it'll be good. As long as Coach is on my television screen, as long as Q's on my television screen, and they're both guaranteed at least 2 episodes between them, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, look, is Survivor going a little corporate? Sure, it's fine. It took us 50 seasons for Survivor to like go full on corporate. Sure, that's fine. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like grow up in arms about it. I just hope that they don't make it a part of the season. The season should be about the players. And
Mhm.
that's kind of where I'm at. I don't want the season to be about these different advantages and all these celebrities that are chiming in. If you want to do that, do Celebrity Survivor. So like, that's kind of it. I want the season to be about the players. I'm hopeful that it will be because I think between this cast of players, they won't let Survivor themselves. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think this cast is full of people who understand what they're there to do, understand the assignment. They're there to make good TV, make great gameplay moves, and be interesting people. Even the people who maybe were not like super big fans of the fact that are back. Like
Yeah.
Aubrey's back. Do we need to see Aubrey again? No. Do I think Aubrey's like not going to give it her 110% to like try and win the game? Absolutely,
Everyone
she is.
is. Everyone is.
Right. Everyone is going to be there and they're going to be trying. You don't think like Kyle's going to try and fight to win, like to be another 2-time winner. Do I think that he's going to do it? Absolutely not, but he's going to give it a good shot and I think if he gets into the right circumstances, he absolutely can win. So it's definitely possible. Joe is back and like he's not there with Eva. Is he a more interesting player? Like I think that the players will dictate the season. I just don't. I'm hoping that Survivor doesn't try and take it away from them.
Yeah.
Um, I have faith because I don't think this cast will let them. So
Yeah.
I'm still excited, although naming an advantage the Billie Eilish boomerang idol has to be one of the more ridiculous things that I've ever heard.
Look, I'll be a glass half full guy on this. Like, I think that like if nothing else, more eyes are going to be on Survivor. I feel like for Survivor 50, for the first time in who knows how
Survivor
long,
struggling.
it's
Like,
actually it's gonna have a legitimate cultural moment, and I'm not talking cable ratings. I think that like once you get Jimmy Fallon talking about how much he loves Dr. Christian Hubicki and the fact that he got the Jimmy Fallon idol, like that's gonna get put eyes on it. And once people see
Mr.
that,
Beast being on it is definitely a thing. I
yeah,
think this will help Survivor become much more a cultural phenomenon in this generation.
which is
Survivor was
terrifying.
already it was already a cultural phenomenon. for us growing up, and it's going to become a new phenomenon. How do you incorporate that? You bring in people that people recognize who may not, watch Survivor on a regular basis. Okay, everything is on a digital age. It's all about that. Who's the face of the digital age right now? It's Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
So you get Mr. Beast on Survivor. You tell people, hey, that guy that you watch all of his YouTube videos on, he's gonna be on Survivor. Like he is like you're gonna want to see this. So will it translate? I think so. Do I think it's gonna be indicative of what the future of Survivor is gonna be like? I hope not.
Yeah.
Like I'm hoping this is a one-time deal, like where we're gonna have like 4 or 5 celebrities, then after that, like, once or twice, okay? Like Neil Patrick Harris will help Jeff like run a challenge or something like that.
That'd be fun. I'd love that.
Like maybe like, just keep it to, if you want to go all out for 50, I get it. It's 50. I'm not mad at it. 51, cut back on it. Like, okay, like let's not get out of hand here.
I just think like the more we talk about it, the more it makes sense to me, because like I think about all the other reality shows I've talked about or that I watch, and it's like all of them ape on Survivor to some degree. Big Brother had Suri on it, then it had Zach, then it had Zach Werdenberger's brother on it, and then whatever else, and blah 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 blah. The challenge had D on the past season, Sydney on the past season, random Survivor players, but because they're Survivor, it's a huge deal.
Mm.
Traders. I mean, how much worse would the season have been if it didn't have Rob and Carolyn on it? Infinitely
So
so.
I think Traders, the franchise of Traders, is basically carried by the Survivor players.
That's what I'm saying.
Um,
That's
so
kind of the point I'm trying to make, and
yeah,
it's like, because of that, I think it's indicative of like, hey, Survivor hasn't ever felt the need to quote unquote stoop to that level. At most, it's had Mike White on it, Amazing Race player, or Hayden Moss, Big Brother player. And it's never really dipped into, hey, we're actually going to go beyond the reality TV space. We're going to extend our branches outwards instead of getting other people to come inward. So I think it's going
I'm
to be
trying to
interesting.
think. I'm trying to think of when celebrities have been on Survivor in the past. I'm really thinking, is this the biggest like celebrity to ever appear on Survivor since Eddie George? Like is
Probably. I mean,
that
Eddie George was a pretty big deal. I don't think he was as big as
yeah.
Mr. Beast, though.
Right. I know that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is this the biggest celebrity to appear on Survivor since? And I guess if you want to take it a step further, Jimmy Johnson probably.
Yeah, well,
Right.
that's
Like,
that's kind of the point I was making. Is even
yeah.
guys like Jimmy Johnson and recent Hall of Fame inductee Jeff Kent, like those are not people who were recruited by the show. Jimmy Johnson sent in an application tape because he wanted to be on Survivor. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
Jeff Kent did the same thing. That's what I mean when it's like this is the first time Survivor's branching outwards. Like I don't think this is a
Um,
situation where Billie Eilish reached out and was like, "Hey, can I have my world famous boomerang idol on your show?" I think this was an opposite thing. And so I'm just curious as to how big of a disaster it will be if it is at all. Who knows? The boomerang idol might be awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where's the sea of truth advantage, or like,
this the Sia idol where you can either, play it as a normal idol or leave the game immediately and get $10,000. That's
yeah,
deal or no deal island.
yeah.
Uh,
Where is the who are the big Survivor fan? Like, all I'm saying is that if I look at season 52 of Survivor, which hasn't filmed yet, and all of a sudden I see Beyonce on my screen, there's gonna be a big problem.
I don't know, Beyonce specifically is the problem you should have. Like if you start seeing like weird micro celebrities pop up, then that's where you need to start worrying. Like,
Well, I just like B-listers, like
yeah,
B and C listers.
like if you start seeing Michael Rappaport on Survivor, that's where you need to start worrying. Whatever. Um, but
uh,
for now, it's like,
I think Survivor, it's a unique experience that we all love and we all just want it to succeed and continue to do better. I think trying new things is always important. Just remember what the game is about and what the game is built around, and it's about the players. So as long
mm,
as the Survivor keeps that focus. It's about the players, it's about the fans. Okay, that's what Survivor is about, and as long as those remain to be the focus, I think we'll be all right.
That's a perfect way to wrap it up. I mean, do you have any other thoughts, or is that it?
I mean, no, man. I'm excited for 50. Can't wait to get going. Between now and then, it's just probably some Traders USA, and then we'll get to 50.
Yeah, and right here on the podcast, I mean, I'm still going to be podcasting away. I have some fun ideas for things to do during the off season. I will probably talk a little traders as I did last season, and who knows where we'll go from there. It'll probably be some ridiculous places, but I'm sure it'll be a fun time. So thank you everybody for tuning in for this season of Seeing Good Moves lately. I really appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye bye.